Good morning, everybody. Let's begin our Placer County Transportation Planning Agency meeting for Wednesday, September 27th, 2017. We will begin with a flag salute. Will you please join me in saluting our flag? No knees, okay? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Sylvia, I wonder if you'd be kind enough to call the roll.
Baker. Here. Broadway.
Here.
Hesh. Here. Holmes.
Here.
Nader. Powers. Here. Rohan.
Here.
Trebus. Euler.
All right, thank you. I'll now ask for item C, approval of the action minutes of August 23rd, 2017. Any additions or subtractions or?
Chair Holmes?
Yes.
It was brought to our attention that there's a very slight error in your minutes which said the location of the last meeting was at the PCTPA offices when it was indeed here at the Board of Supervisors chambers.
Okay. Any other corrections or?
With that amendment, a motion to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to approve the motion to approve the action minutes with the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any objections? Seeing none, we'll move to item D, agenda review. Anything on the agenda that needs to be addressed or changed or already? Seeing none, we will move on to public comment. Now is the time for anyone that wishes to speak to us regarding any issue that's not on the agenda. Now is the time to come forward. You have 3 minutes. If you'll be kind enough to state your name and address or where you live, you don't have to give us your address. So we're not coming over or anything. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Angela Harmon, and I live in Roseville. Okay, so today I'm speaking on behalf of the employees at the State Controller's Office in Sacramento. The people who are requesting a bus stop be put in for the Roseville commuter at N and 4th. It is my understanding that you guys don't have the final say on specific bus routes, but we do appreciate your support and assistance with making this happen. I understand it's very important that you guys are part of this process, and it is appreciated by me and my coworkers. I know you guys have heard similar requests for bus stops before, and it's fairly typical to hear a request for a bus stop. But what we are proposing will create a bus route opportunity that will encourage and even motivate many employees to not only take the bus, but some people have considered discontinuing their parking garage passes, especially as it skyrockets for the rate that they're charging, and a lot of people have considered taking the Roseville commuter as a daily commute method instead of driving, because if they put in this stop at N and 4th, it makes a world of a difference to us. It'll be a great reward for PCTPA, Roseville Transportation, and bus riders, and indubitably the environment too, because so many people do want this bus stop put in. Specifically, what we are proposing is that the bus stop that is currently at 5th and P be moved to P Street, and that way the bus will then take 2 short right-hand turns and then going past N and 4th and continue its route on N as it currently does. This new route would be an additional 0.3 miles, a mere 2-minute difference in time traveled. So it's not a huge difference as far as the bus route, but it's a huge difference for us, especially as the winter relentlessly is about to approach again. So we just ask that you consider the suggestion to be placed to the next stage of the process, especially as the next board meeting comes up. I know you guys are considering the unmet needs next meeting. So we have sent in emails as well, and we are here today to express our earnest attempt to make this bus stop a reality.
Thank you very much. David, did you were you able to write down what this? Okay, just wanted to make sure I kind of got lost on the streets there, but they've got it. So
Okay, thank
we'll be looking at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello.
I'm actually here to support that. There is a little map in the proposed route.
Okay.
I also work at the controller's office. I have parked in the, my name is Nancy Ayala, to begin with, and I have parked in the parking lot for 6.5 years. My husband went on disability, and as an older worker, and I still have quite a few years left to work, it does make a difference. The parking rate does keep going up, and I am going to start taking the Roseville commute. And I tend to get the flu worse than most people in the winter, so when I am trying to get to work, having that 8 to 10 minute walk from the bus stop where it's at now into the building does create a situation where I don't know if it's going to really benefit my health, but if they move the bus stop a little closer to our building, and I know several people in our building that live right in Roseville here that I'm sure would love to start taking the bus, it would be a big advantage, just because the walk itself, the cost, and just trying to stay out of the wind and the rain in the winter, it would be a big advantage. So I just support that.
All right, ma'am, we need your name and where you live.
Oh, Nancy Ayala.
All right.
And I live in Roseville on Ben Ezra.
Okay, good.
Yes, and I take the bus from Saugstead to downtown 5th and P right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else under public comment? Seeing none, we'll now move on to our consent calendar. These items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested citizen may request an item to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion. Is there anyone that has an issue with any item on the consent calendar? Seeing none, we will go ahead and ask for a approval.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none, we'll now we will adjourn as the Placer County Transportation Planning Agency and convene as the Western Placer Consolidated Transportation Services Agency. And then again, we have another consent item on item G. Any items on the consent calendar that need to be removed for discussion? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to approve.
Move approval.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none, we'll now adjourn as the Western Placer Consolidated Transportation Services Agency and convene as the Placer County Transportation Planning Agency. And we'll move to item H, congestion mitigation and air quality project funding recommendations. This is an action item.
Good morning, Chair Holmes, members of the board. We're before you today for two action items here. This is related to our federal congestion mitigation air quality funding that we receive. And in May of this year, the board approved guidelines for the CMAQ funding to be directed 25% to up to 25% to discretionary projects. And then the remaining amount is distributed to our local jurisdictions based on a fair share basis. And as part of the action in May, the board approved discretionary funding to go to Roundabout and Colfax on State Route 174, and also sidewalks on State Route 49 in Auburn and the County of Placer. We did do a call for projects with all of our local jurisdictions, and there was $15.6 million available in federal CMAQ funding, and that actually leveraged $47 million in projects. And so you'll see in the attachment 1 all of the projects that are proposed for each jurisdiction, and all were deemed eligible for the CMAQ program, and we're recommending board approval.
All right. Any questions from agency members? Any questions from the audience? All righty, well, looks like I'll ask for a motion then.
Motion to approve.
All right. Okay, I think we've got it. So a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none. Now we'll move to item I, unmet transit needs 2017 process and schedule. And is that Aaron? Okay, Mr. White.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. As Ms. Harmon mentioned earlier with her public comments on the unmet transit needs process, today is a great day to kick that off, starting with her comments. She and I had actually spoke last week about the same topic, and so today was an opportunity for her to share those thoughts with you. The unmet transit needs process is our annual public outreach effort to try to determine how public transit is working for those who use it and for those members of the public who are not using it but are considering using it. It's a requirement per the Transportation Development Act that we reach out to groups, assess their comments on how public transit is working, what improvements could be made, and then based on our definitions of an unmet transit need and reasonable to meet, to make certain determinations on whether those improvements move forward. Those improvements, again, are part of the Transportation Development Act, and that we must look to implement those projects prior to spending funds for street and roads improvements with our annual Transportation Development Act apportionment. Our outreach effort takes many different approaches. We will be publishing ads in the local newspapers leading up to 3 different workshops that we are hosting in Roseville, Lincoln, Tahoe City, and then we'll be holding our public workshop here in Auburn. I'm also doing a presentation tomorrow with the Placer Collaborative Network. We have anywhere between 40, maybe 60 different groups who participate in that, and so it's a great opportunity for me to share the word with them about this process and to understand how their clientele may utilize transit or may have challenges with using that. On the back side of your memo is the schedule for the workshops. And please do note that there's a blue form that was handed out that confirms the latest and greatest times. We were able to confirm the time with the City of Roseville as well as the meeting in Tahoe City. Part of this effort also includes reaching out through social media, working directly with the social service agencies to get input. This process will run through November 17th, at what point we will close our public comment period, start to review each of the comments against our definitions of unmet transit needs and reasonable to meet, and meet with our Social Services Transportation Advisory Committee on those to review all of the comments we received. We'll then share that with our Technical Advisory Committee in January and bring a formal report and findings to you in February.
So we will have a public hearing to take comment on at our next board meeting.
Correct, yes. In October, on the 25th, we will have a public hearing where individuals can share testimony as Ms. Harmon did today, regardless of whether it's from email that comes in to me, phone call, public hearing. All of these comments carry the same weight, and all of them are evaluated in the same manner.
All right, very good. Any questions from board members? Yes, Ron.
Could I ask you 2 things? One is, when you do have the meetings this year, will you go over last year's comments and what progress has been made on any of those? One, and that's one. And then the other, is there any different format you're using, or not that there's anything wrong with the old one, or is it the same format that has been used in the past?
Okay. The first part, at the board meeting in October, I typically share what has been done in the past and what type of comments have came in the past and what we might expect to see again. At the individual meetings, we'll often cover that also at our workshops in various locations, whether it's Tahoe City or down in Lincoln. It provides a good basis for individuals who are there to understand what types of comments have came in the past and what type of comments we address. In terms of outreach format, it's a similar format to the past years. We really rely heavily on social media, working with the Truckee, Tahoe area transit authority, and all our different groups to really get the word out. Your public information officers, will be asking them to share the flyers on their social media and their e-news that they have. It takes many different venues or routes to get the word out.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions? Anyone in the audience wish to address us on this item? Seeing none, this is no action, it's just information items, so thank you very much, Aaron, for your presentation. We'll now move to the Executive Director's report.
Excuse me, yes, I have a number of items for the board's information to update the board. Senate Bill 1, you may have seen in the news that the proposal was submitted to the to the Secretary of State and then the Attorney General, that the description and title was rejected by the court, and they've rewritten the title and description to be essentially more descriptive. Apparently, it did not have the word gasoline sales tax or gasoline tax in it somehow. But in any case, the point being, this has then qualified for signature gathering as a referendum on SB1 that would essentially dismantle that. That is of particular interest in terms of the transportation community because those are funds that are helping us with the first phase of the 8065 interchange, as well as an influx of funds for the cities and the county for your street and road rehabilitation funds. There's a number of other programs that we're working with the state on that they're doing requests for proposals on as the guidelines are completed. So there's a lot of moving parts at the moment that might then be essentially dismantled if this does pass. But I do want to make the board aware of what's going on with that. On to the transportation sales tax effort. The legislative session was completed about a week and a half ago, and AB 1324, which we were looking at as a mechanism to do a transportation sales tax district in South Placer County, has become a 2-year bill, so it did not pass. In the meantime, we are exploring the idea of doing a multi-jurisdictional joint powers authority, or a JPA. So we are going to be convening a meeting of the city managers, city/town managers and county exec in October to talk about this as an option and doing some polling in between now and then to provide some data for consideration. That will be brought to your October board meeting along with a presentation by our consultants, Charles Heath at TBWB, to get some update and feedback from the board on what direction you may want to go in the future. Excuse me. I wanted to remind everyone that the dedication ceremony for the Tom Cosgrove Memorial Highway is this next Friday on October 6th, 10 a.m. at Robert Jimenez Park, and it should be a really nice ceremony. We'll have the signage there and unveiling. Really looking forward to that. And then finally, I wanted to note that I-8065 Phase 1 project went out to bid day before yesterday.
All right.
Bid openings are scheduled for November the 14th, so everybody keep your fingers crossed that these bids are going to come in at or under the estimate so that this can be awarded and we can proceed with our plans to do a groundbreaking in December. That concludes my report.
All righty. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Could you tell me, please, Celia, what would be achieved with putting together a JPA for Western Placer County?
Well, essentially, it would be the existing incorporated jurisdictions that would do some sort of an agreement, and this is something we have to explore. I've asked our attorney, Nancy Miller, to look at what would be involved in putting together a JPA and then a sales tax, whether it would be just in those, it would be a sales tax put on by the JPA, or whether it would be a sales tax placed on the ballot by the individual jurisdictions, say Roseville, Rockland, Lincoln, Loomis, that would then the funds pledge to a JPA for distribution. So these are the things, we're just starting to explore this, and there are yet a lot of questions.
And would that come in then without having the state legislation?
That is something we could do without state legislation, and that's why we're exploring it, because the state legislation has been tricky.
I know. Tricky? Oh, nice. Complimentary.
I'm trying to be nice.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Celia? Seeing none, any board direction to staff? Seeing none, there's some informational items for your perusal. And now we will adjourn to closed session in conference room A. The closed session is being held pursuant to Government Code 54957, Public Employee Employment Consideration, Executive Director. Thank you.